Welcome back to Mr. Hines Explains. We're going to talk about another type of phrase called a positive phrase. So make sure this gets into your notability. Make sure it's in English 10. And let's get started, okay? So, appositive phrases. This one's going to have 2 slides, not too big of a deal. I just didn't want to cram it all onto one. So first of all, an appositive is we can either use a noun or pronoun that helps give more information for another noun or pronoun in a sentence. And that's a little bit, sounds kind of familiar because the name of the game is really giving more information. Just like with our other types of phrases such as preposition phrases. But with here, if you go to this example over here, the name George has been popular for generations. Now, there should be an S in there. See, even English teachers make mistakes. So if we have a noun like name, and then we have a noun right after it giving more information about specifically which name, that's our positive right there. The name George has been positive or popular for generations. Okay? Now, appositive phrases. So remember, phrases are just groups of words are made up of an appositive and any modifiers. And if you need to remember what a modifier is, that is descriptions. Okay? So, for instance, here I've used George Washington as the main noun. And then here, our first president. That's our appositive phrase. You see that it's marked off by commas on either sides? That's for a very specific reason that we'll talk about on the next slide. Because there are 2 types of appositive phrases. There are essential appositives and there are, obviously, non-essential appositives. And I'll explain the difference between the 2 in just a second. So essential appositives make the meaning of a sentence clear. So if we took the sentence, have you heard of the writer Kwame Alexander? Writer here is our noun, right? And Kwame Alexander is our positive because it adds more information. Now, what we mean by clear is if we were to take this appositive out, and this is what I would always recommend you do whenever we're talking about appositives, to find out if it's essential and non-essential, if we took it out, we just went, have you heard of the writer? If you can ask yourself, does the sentence make sense still? And if it's not, if it's a little bit weird, it's an essential phrase. Because if you say, have you heard of the writer? Someone's going to reply, well, what writer? Well, what are you talking about? So it has to be essential. Okay? So if you can take out the appositive phrase, if you can take out that appositive phrase and it still makes sense, guess what? It's non-essential. If you take it out and it doesn't make sense anymore, the sentence doesn't make sense anymore, it's essential. So non-essential appositives add extra meaning, just extra meaning to a sentence that is already clear. So, and the other thing that you need to know is they're set off by commas. So if we go up to that example in the previous slide where it says our first president, hey, look, comma, comma, on either side, it means it's non-essential. So he is known for writing several books, comma, the crossover being one. So if this is our positive, let's take this, the same equation that we said earlier, if we can take it out and it still makes sense, he is known for writing several books. Great. Awesome. So it's non-essential because it still makes sense. Okay, that's all about appositives. Go ahead and submit that for a check.